Brainstorm, bringing great minds and ideas together, exploring a wide variety of opportunities, achieving academic excellence, using the latest technology, government's impact, preparing for 21st century careers, parenting and health issues, topics shaping tomorrow. Brainstorm with Lisa Willever, bringing great minds and ideas together.
Welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Willever, and today we're talking about school, sports, and scholarships. Before we begin, let's learn a little bit more about our topic.
There was a time when having a catch or kicking a ball with a preschooler was fun. Over the years, for many athletes, sports have become much more than fun. With intense pressure to specialize and use athletics as a way to pay for college, sports have taken on a whole new meaning. But what's the reality when it comes to athletic scholarships? Is it just a matter of being a great athlete, or is there much more to it?
Joining me today, I have two very important guests. I have Keith Fisher from Penn State University. You are the assistant men's hockey coach.
Correct.
And I have Anthony Finari, a high school teacher and a coach.
Yes.
I want to thank you both for joining me today. Let's get started right away. Let's talk about sports in general. Why are sports so great for kids? You want to take that, Keith?
I think sports provides some structure to kids, and it allows them an out to get away from academics, to get away from, home life a little bit, and you start to develop relationships. You learn how to compete. You learn how to be a teammate. You learn how to do things as a team. So I think sports growing up is very important for development of youth around the nation.
Great. And then how about you, Anthony? What is your opinion as a teacher? How do you see sports with your students?
I see it gives them a lot of encouragement. It gives them a lot of confidence when they're in the classroom. So when they succeed or fail on the field or the court, that they can transfer that over to like the academics. So it's not always just failing, but it's learning from the mistakes, just like you can in school. So it's very transferable.
Now, I know with most kids, they start, catching a ball, kicking a ball when they're very little. And I don't know how it was for you growing up. Were you somebody who went outside and played sports with kids in your neighborhood? Was it unstructured? Or, today it seems very structured for kids. When you grew up, did you just go out and play? How was it? You grew up in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, and I grew up out in the country, so we didn't have neighbors that we would go play with. So, it was really unstructured. You just, picked up a ball or bat, and you started kicking a ball around or shooting basketball, went out skiing, whatever. I was a guy who liked to being outside, so whatever I could do to get outside, I would try to get outside. Didn't matter if it was winter, summer, raining, hot, cold, whatever. I just like to be outside and like to do things. So that's, I think, the unstructured part. It opens up kids' imagination,
which I think is so important.
So I think the more unstructured it is as youth, I think it's important.
Now, you grew up in the city, so how was your experience? You had neighbors. You didn't have the fields that Keith had. How was that?
It was very similar, but a little different, because we did have structured sports, but that was for different seasons. Mm-hmm. But then in between, we played a lot of stuff outside. So we would just have pickup games, a wiffle ball, football.
Wiffle ball.
Run the bases. The numerous amount of games that we played, but all that, as Keith said, leads to the imagination. You got to create your own rules and parameters, and everybody's got to follow it. And you're outside and you're playing, and it's healthy.
And that is the thing. Outside, so many kids don't go outside today, either for safety reasons or because they're so chained to the technology, to their video games and their computers and devices, and they can be sitting 2 feet from somebody and they're texting each other. So they're very sedentary. There's, obesity rates have tripled in the past 30 years, which, triple is a lot. So I think, hopefully kids will continue. Maybe the pendulum will go back and they'll start going outside again. But we have seen a real big uptick in organized sports, whether it's recreation or the travel/tournament teams. Have you noticed a change in kids? Because, as you said, yours was more free range. Kids made their own rules, and you didn't have adults overseeing everything. Now things are super structured for kids. Are you noticing a change in kids? Are they more interested? Are they getting burned out sooner? How do you see that on your level?
Well, it's a combination of things. You do see a burnout level because kids are playing one sport year long now, which is unfortunate because you want to develop as a whole, not just as a football player, a hockey player, a golfer, tennis player, whatever. The more different sports that you're exposed to, it develops your whole body, it develops your whole mind.
I would imagine there's overuse injuries if you're constantly pitching and that's all you do. I would imagine like your rotator cuff, your arm, that's got to be a little
and you see
worn out.
Injury rates amongst youths across all sports is gone sky high right now, and I think that's because kids are specializing at younger ages, which is unfortunate.
And I think the intensity, so it's like the specializing, and because they're it seems like kids play almost every day, like at practice or a game. My one son, when he played ice hockey, at 8 years old, they were playing, they were practicing 3 nights a week, and then they had games all weekend. And then the parents were complaining because they wanted more practice, which was like, that's little kids. These are 8 and 9-year-old kids, and it's almost a 6-day-a-week obligation. It seemed excessive to me. How is it with the high school kids? Are you noticing as they're, they see you before they get to Keith? How is that working out in high school?
It's the same thing as a lot of kids are being forced to choose like what sport they're going to go. So in the past, you could play 3 sports and go from one sport to the other. Now, a lot of kids, it's almost like a job for them. And it's not as fun, and it's a lot more pressure because they want to play different sports, but they're being pulled in different directions, especially a lot of the rec leagues and things like that, which, it keeps them in that sport, but the injuries go up, and then I guess a lot of kids, they want to skip practice and stuff because if they're playing it for a year, it gets kind of tired of the same sport, but they're being told, like, that's what you have to do if you want to, like, go to the next level. But I think sometimes if they vary it up a little bit, then they might be a little bit more successful, have some fun and loosen up.
Well, and have some fun and loosen up. I think that's kind of what's missing right now. I know with my hockey playing son, I kind of had my epiphany when it was 7 o'clock in the morning and I was sitting in a cold ice skating rink in Coney Island and the kids were 8 and I was thinking, what are we doing? I mean, this is it's not fun at that point. The kids were tired. Most of them slept the whole car ride. Yep. They didn't want to wake up. I mean, we're like, get on the ice, you got to play. So I think it's hard, but do you feel the parents are really driving it? I mean, I don't see it being kid-driven unless, what do you see? Do you see the parents driving this push?
It's a combination. I think parents do drive it, but ultimately the kid has to do it, and I hope as a parent you can see when your kid is miserable and doesn't want to do it, so you're not forcing them to do it. And you know what, part of me when I was a kid, I do remember, you look back on things, and I loved my 6 a.m. practices. But our coaches were good because it was a fun practice. They probably didn't want to be there. We're getting up early.
There's something to get in there.
So I mean, it was a really fun practice. I enjoyed it, but then I had the rest of the day to do things. So practice was done with the rest of the day to do things. And I think at our level too, and I stress it all the time, is we need to take days off because now guys need to get out and do whatever they need to do.
That's impressive that a college coach is sitting here saying we need days off, because I don't think people picture at your level that there's any leeway.
No, I mean,
that's a great message.
The monotony of the schedule gets to you, but now your training isn't as intense. Your practices aren't as good because you're just there to be there. You have no purpose to it. So when we're at the rink or we're working out, that's where your focus needs to be. And if you're there every day doing it, you kind of lose that focus a little bit. So we need to be on point all the time, work hard, and I think days off are so important at our level.
I would hope rec teams and even high school teams hear that message that we're saying right now. We have viewers all over the country, and I know high school soccer teams specifically where the kids go Monday through Friday, but then 6 a.m. on the weekends they're out practicing, and they have a weight room requirement. And I would imagine that message would be well received by parents and the players if coaches said, you know what, instead of so many days in a row, more quality as opposed to the quantity. Do you see that in high school?
Oh, definitely. Quality over the quantity. I said one of the key aspects of my practices is I try to have 2.5 hours. And I'd rather have a 2.5 hour practice instead of coming in for 2 doubles.
Yeah.
And like Keith said, it allows you, once you're done, to balance in your life. So a lot of the kids that I teach, they have jobs or they have family obligations, which means if I'm always bringing them to practice just because I'm focusing on that, they're missing out on other aspects of their life, which makes it difficult for them.
Now, for high school athletes, they have, schedules that start. These kids are on buses, sometimes 6:15 in the morning. they don't get done until, say, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and a lot of them go right to a practice or a game. Sometimes games are away, so they may not be getting home till 7 or 8 o'clock. How do the kids balance academics? I mean, the kids who are on the high school teams, who are, you know, your premier athletes in your school, how are they able to balance the academic and athletics?
To be honest, a lot of them are struggling. They stay up very late doing homework. I mean, they come in, they put on a good facade, but a lot of them, they need time. And I said, you know, I asked them over break, what's one thing you guys are going to do? And they say, sleep and catch up on work. And, you know, for a lot of them, it's tough. You can tell the ones who are very serious because of the amount of time they put in, but a lot of other kids can't devote a amount of that time, and they sort of get caught up in what they think is expected of them. And it's kind of tough to live up to those expectations academically and athletically.
How do you find it with the college students? You know, I would imagine that there are college kids who don't realize the demands, like the reality of it, until they get there.
The students that we're getting realize the demands, and we don't have an issue with that. Hockey's probably a little different than other sports, so we're fortunate that way. But at the Division I level, and us being a Power 5 school, we have a little bit more resources than our school, but the structure is set up really good. And we actually find with our guys struggle more out of season because they don't have that structure.
Without the structure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually the structure is, for us, what I found is actually very good because, you know, now they know they got practice today, now they know they got to study from, you know, before practice, after practice, whenever. Now you lose that structure a little bit. You know, guys get a tendency to make their own decisions and like, well, maybe I can blow this, you know, this testing off. And so I think at times the structure helps guys stay focused. You know, it is demanding. I understand that, but I think that structure can be good. Managing your time. Do I have to study this? Maybe I have to study this a little bit harder. Okay, I want to go to practice. I like the time management, making decisions on your own, what's important, what's not for kids.
How about it with the high school?
Well, I thought it was good. We were just mentioning off camera before about the gap year.
Yeah.
And that little bit of maturity gives kids to prioritize a lot. And so, like you were saying, yeah, a lot of kids who are playing sports, they get their work done. Sometimes I notice some kids, their grades go up in season, and some kids, they go down in season. So it all depends on their own maturity level. And a gap year for a lot of kids making that transition from high school to college might be what's needed just for them to be able to prioritize like a work ethic that they could actually.
And that is something popular in other countries, isn't it? The whole idea of taking a gap year. There are countries, I guess Europe and different places.
Well, I think a gap year is important just because you go to college at 18, a lot of kids are overwhelmed. I mean, and I got 2 daughters now, and I'm like, holy smokes, like, what are they going to do in college at 18? Like, it's kind of scary. But, you know, a lot of kids don't know what they're going to study. It's the first time moving away from home. You got to get up and go to class on your own. And, you know, hopefully stuff you're doing before, but, you know, living away on your own is different. And, you know, so now if you go to college as a freshman, as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, it's way different. You know what? It's more important to you. You know, so now you study a little bit harder. You might know what you want to study now, so you're not changing majors. I think the average student changes majors like 5 times. So
that probably takes a lot of extra time.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully it eliminates that a little bit.
Well, it does speak to the maturity level and whether you know where you want to go. I mean, you're going to probably work till you're 75, maybe 80 at this point. So the more time you have to pick what you're going to do. You know what, we're going to take a break. We will be back in just a moment with some more brainstorm and these very intelligent guests that we have booked today. Thank you.
$150 over $90.
$180 over $111.
$160 over $110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. This is a serious problem, but one we can solve. Visit feedingamerica.org to help. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework. I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
1 in 5 children struggle with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org.
We're back with more Brainstorm, and I'm joined with Keith Fisher, Penn State University men's hockey coach, assistant coach, and Anthony Finari, a high school coach and teacher. So let's talk about scholarships. That is a huge thing that parents always want to talk about when it comes to kids in sports. Unfortunately, I think starting even 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, people are trying to figure out which sport to steer their children toward, where they think there might be the most scholarships. So I think it's something that a lot of people think about, and I think there probably are a lot of misconceptions. So since you do a lot of recruiting, you're our expert here. Why don't you explain it to us and to the viewer so people understand how this process works?
Well, I can tell you, parents, if you want your kids to get scholarships, get them in hockey. Because for how many
Said the
kids,
hockey coach.
No, for how many kids play hockey versus how many scholarships are available, it is easier to get a scholarship in hockey than it is any other sports, just by numbers.
Okay.
So if that's your main goal, get them into hockey. But your goal as a parent shouldn't be to get them a scholarship.
Can you say that again?
Your goal in
so worth
sports should
repeating.
not be to get them a scholarship.
Okay.
You know, and I see parents in hockey spending, $20,000 a year for their kids to play.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, he's got to get a scholarship. That's not why your kid should be playing sports. He should be playing sports for, being around a team and having fun and enjoyment. That's why you play sports. It's not to get a scholarship. And a couple myths in scholarship, you got to look like for a football team, they have 85 scholarships.
Okay.
So they have 85 full scholarships. Okay, basketball, I think they might have 12 or 14. I don't know the exact number of full.
Okay.
But not every sport is like that. Some sports, you look at baseball, I think they have 13
Really?
scholarships for, what do they have, 30 guys on a baseball team, 35. We have 18 in hockey for 27, 28, maybe 30 players, some teams carry. So not every kid gets a full scholarship. When you say I got a scholarship to X school, the odds of getting a full scholarship is rare.
Okay.
Whether, take the exceptions of football and basketball.
I was reading some numbers that were startling, and they basically kept using the word minuscule to impress upon parents that it's not going to be that easy to get this full ride that they're dreaming about, and that your child might be great in your town, even your state, but there's other states and other countries. They're all competing for it. So there's kids who are going to be better, and there's a lot of competition. So I love what you're telling us. Keep going. This is great.
Well, and then sports at the Division I level, even our team at Penn State, we have 2 Russians, a guy from Finland. We have 2 players from Finland coming in. So you're not competing against guys from local New Jersey or Pennsylvania or wherever. I mean, we got guys from Western Canada, all over the United States, all over the world now. And that's how every sport is right now. It's so competitive. You look at basketball, how many players from foreign countries are coming into the NCAA basketball right now. And football, I just saw there was a rugby player from Australia that signed a football scholarship.
Oh, okay.
So you're not competing against your local high school, for scholarship time. It's from kids across the nation and across the world. So, I mean, when you divide up the numbers and the number of scholarships and the opportunities available, you're pulling a needle out of a hay straw to get a scholarship. It's almost like winning a lottery, and parents who shouldn't use your kid playing youth sports for your lottery tickets to finance it. I hope you're doing something better. And you know what? You want your kids to have a good experience in college and playing college sports. So getting to that level, say you want to play Division I football, okay? There's 125 players on a football roster, okay? If you want to play, go to the FBS school or Division II or Division III. Now you can play and showcase yourself.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt Carson Wentz and guys like that.
No, it didn't.
They're all pro. They didn't play at a FBS school, or a BCS school, sorry. But go and have a great experience and play a lot. And I tell kids that, can you be on a Division I team? Sure, but you're not going to play.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be a bottom end guy. You're going to be in and out of the lineup. If you want to be have a great experience, go to Division III school, be a great player, be a all league, be a All-American, and help lead your team to a national championship. That might be more fun than being an in and out of the lineup type person. Yeah. So you got to be realistic of where you're at and your opportunities. And a big thing people don't do right now is look at the schools. Go out and hopefully you can go find a school. And the good thing you have the internet now. See what type of majors they have. You know,
you mean actually look at the academic program, not just which one has the hockey or the football or baseball?
You know, because you look at it, you take it another step. So the kids go to college sports to play college hockey and to get an education. The education part is the biggest piece of it. So if there's nothing that you're interested in studying there, you might want to look at something else. You know, you got some big schools. You got Penn State of 44,000 students. You got Colorado College that has 2,500 students. Mm-hmm. You know, the big schools for some kids get overwhelmed by it, and some kids, they go to a small school and like, oh, I don't like this. I want to go to bigger schools.
So we're looking at like little fish in a big pond and big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
How are the high school kids? Do they understand what Keith is saying right now, or have they been groomed by their coaches and their parents to think they're going to get a scholarship?
I think it's both ways, and I think some of them don't realize how tough it is until they actually get there. And then I ask a lot of kids who come back, and I'm like, are you still playing sports? And they're like, no, well, it's, we got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and practice. Everything's regimented, like Keith was saying. But then other kids sometimes realize, like, the writing's on the wall. And I said I had a couple of tennis players that realized they could go to a Division III school and sit on the bench, or they could get a free scholarship to go to Mercer County College and play not only singles, but they could play doubles, and they were playing. So it was a more balanced, richer experience for them doing it without having to worry about a scholarship. And
one of the things that Keith mentioned in the beginning of the segment was when parents spend, $15,000, $20,000 on, playing a sport in preparation for college and for a scholarship. And a lot of times kids have private coaches and they have seminars and workshops and they play year round and multiple teams. That money could have been spent on college. Yeah. And the kids could have just played the sport at a less intense level and really enjoyed it. And wouldn't that sport help them admissions-wise, to get into a school? If it adds to your well-roundedness instead of focusing on the financial end.
And that's a great piece to it. And actually, one of my good friends, his boy, and he's a coach, but his boy never really got into sports or whatever, but he's a high academic student, and his goal is to get into an Ivy League school. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to him this fall, and he'd mentioned how his boy is going out for soccer, and he's like, he's never played soccer before. He goes, well, I want to get into an Ivy League school, and getting a varsity letter will enhance my profile of getting into an Ivy League school. And I go, well, that's intelligent. Like, that's really smart, and that's why you play a sport, and that's why you're part of the band, you're part of a sports team or drama club. There's so many different activities that you can get into. It's unfortunate when kids are just so focused and so specialized in one thing, knowing that you're probably not going to get a scholarship and you're not going to go pro.
Well, I hope we're getting that message across. So let's play a game we like to call Brainstorm. Basically, in the tradition of brainstorming, we have 8 ideas here. We'll discuss them. If they're good, we keep them. If they're not a good idea, you guys get to ball them up and try to make a basket. Your scholarships are riding on this, so we're going to yank your scholarship if you don't make it. Ready?
Now I'm stressed.
Okay, a lot of stress. Okay, here we go. I didn't tell you this was going to happen, so. Idea number 1, recreational sports should encourage learning, sportsmanship, and fun.
Definitely a keeper.
I'd agree with all 3 of those.
Okay. I am a huge fan of rec sports. I have a young 11-year-old who is Mr. Rec. He's not going the high-pressure route. He likes to be a jack of all trades. Idea number 2, intense athletic participation from early childhood always results in a scholarship.
Very false.
Okay, very false. I like that. We're doing degrees of false.
Going
all
for
right.
a 3-point shot here.
I'm a hockey player, not a basketball player, so we'll see what happens.
Hey,
look at that. Look at that. All right. Idea 3, great coaches teach and encourage players.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, it's a big part of us is not only teaching, but encouraging guys to do well and hopefully play as a team and
enjoy it. You said that several times about fun and enjoying it, which is, you want kids to have that joy of playing a sport.
Can't live and breathe and die on winning or losing.
No.
You know, has to be for the joy of the game and just playing it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, idea number 4. If you're a standout athlete in your town, you'll probably get a full ride.
No.
I'm going to ask our scout here.
As we talked about, a full ride is
rare.
Is so rare.
It's only worth
in
as
all
long
sports.
as the bus is taking it.
Yeah.
Let's put that in and see if I can make this here. Think so?
All that Pee Wee basketball must have paid off for
basketball.
you. Idea 5, the chances of winning an athletic scholarship are minuscule. And as far as we'll say full ride, and it's going to be difficult. 6, college sports build character and provide many life lessons.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
I think the life lessons are huge, and that's why one of the reasons you play sports.
I agree. That is one of the best reasons to play sports. 7, natural athletic ability isn't important on the college level.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with it on a high school level as well.
Yeah, you're going to need some athletic ability.
A lot of times they think if you put your time in on 20 travel teams, that should make up for the difference of athletic ability.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, quality versus quantity.
There you go. Wow, you guys are on fire here. Last one. Parents of 5-year-olds should steer their kids to scholarship sports.
Well, as we just said, no.
Okay, well then I'll let you have that one. I hope, let's see if you get it.
I think the last one, going on a high note.
There we go. I hope our viewers really got something out of this today as far as understanding how to direct their students. I want to thank you for watching Brainstorm. We'll be back next time with another great episode.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Heard about the scarecrow who won an award? He was outstanding in his field.